Today on the Locked On Blues podcast, the St. Louis Blues continue their hot streak, extending their point streak to 16 games, continuing their franchise record. Robert Thomas extended his point streak, tying Connor McDavid for the longest point streak in the NHL this season. Like I said, the St. Louis Blues won 2 games this weekend, so I'm going to be getting into both of those. And then today, Vladimir Tarasenko was nominated for the Masterson Trophy, which is basically comeback player of the year. Every team nominates one guy. So I'm going to be talking about that as well. Busy Monday episode for you guys today. Make sure you stay tuned.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Locked On Blues podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and your number one source for daily Blues content. I'm Hyman. I'm going to be taking you guys a solo episode today. Got a busy weekend to cover. The Blues played 2 games, and I'm going to be talking about the first one here in the first segment, the 5-4 victory over the Arizona Coyotes. Now, this game wasn't all easy, smooth sailing for the St. Louis Blues. It was at first. They took a 3-0 lead off of goals from Justin Falk, Ivan Barbashev, and Brendan Saad. Things were looking pretty good. The Coyotes made it 3-1, but the Blues then made it 4-1. And in the third period, the Blues proceeded to blow that 4-1 lead to the Arizona Coyotes, allowing the first goal of the season for one guy, the third goal of the season for another guy, and the fourth goal of the season for the third goal scorer. So kind of gave up some goals to no names. No offense to the Arizona Coyotes and those players, but definitely pretty concerning there. The Blues did, however, lock up that point streak, extend that point streak by forcing that game into overtime, which is an area where they have been very, very poor this season. But they came away with a victory as Justin Falk got his second of the night off of assists from Vladimir Tarasenko and soon to be added Robert Thomas. Now, there's a few things to get into that game. First of all, I just want to talk about how hilarious it is that the Blues filed a grievance with the NHL to get Robert Thomas. I don't know if they filed a grievance or whatever the term is, but basically the broadcast made it sound like during Sunday's game is that the overtime goal was scored by Justin Falk. Vladimir Tarasenko got the assist, and that's what the official game sheet said at the end of the game. Now, what they said on the broadcast, I don't know how true this is that the Blues complained to the NHL that Robert Thomas also deserves an assist on that, which I'm sure would not have occurred if he was not on that point streak. But the NHL, whoever decides these things, I guess, took a look at the goal and said, yeah, Robert Thomas does get an assist on that. So his points continue there. That was pretty funny. Hearing that and thinking about someone in the Blues organization waking up and writing a letter, dear NHL, I would like you to take a look at this. Whatever, I don't know. I just thought that was a little funny, a little bit of a tangent. That being said, though, you could take the negative takeaway from this game and say, how the heck do you blow a 4-1 lead to the Arizona Coyotes? I choose to take a positive takeaway in the sense that you're going to blow leads in the playoffs. It's going to happen. You're going to be up 1-0, 2-1, 3-1, whatever. There's going to be times when you're winning and then you aren't winning. That's the nature of the sport. You're going to have a lead and then you're going to give up that lead. That's going to happen to the Blues at some point in the playoffs. And they showed a lot of resilience. Arizona put on a lot of pressure there in that third period. They did a good job of kind of keeping it tied in regulation. Arizona definitely had a few chances to win the game in regulation there. They had a lot of momentum at the end of the game. And the Blues did a good job of basically, forcing overtime in a game where they were really being outplayed at the end there. Jordan Binnington, not his strongest performance, but he made some really big saves before they blew the lead and, after they blew the lead. He did a good job of kind of keeping the Blues in the game, giving them a chance to win. And sure enough, their offense did exactly that. Blues came away with a victory there in that game, which obviously huge for them, extended the point streak and kind of extended their brand new winning streak to 2 games at that point. But I mean, overall, yeah, it's concerning that they kind of played down to their competition again, played down to the Arizona Coyotes. Should have kept the 4-1 lead and not looked back for sure. But also, like I said, there's going to be times when the Blues are winning in the playoffs and then they blow a lead. So, they didn't get discouraged, they didn't hang their heads and get out of what works. They kind of just kept their heads down, kept grinding, kept doing what had gotten them goals, what had worked in the past, and it led to getting that victory in overtime. And I think that sort of translated as well to the game on Sunday against the Anaheim Ducks, because it was kind of the opposite story where the Blues were outplaying the crap out of the Ducks early on, but the Ducks scored 2 goals on their first 2 shots. And we're up 2-0 at the end of the first period with only I think 3 shots on goal. The shots at the end of one were 12-3 Blues, and they were down 2-0. So they kind of channeled the same energy and didn't get discouraged in that game. So kind of like I said, a tale of 2 different wins this weekend. The first one, they kind of blew a lead, hung on, kept being resilient, and got a win in overtime. Sunday's game was the exact opposite. They got pretty embarrassed early on, giving up, like I said, 2 goals on the first 2 shots of the game for the Anaheim Ducks. Even though they were outplaying them, it really felt like there was nothing they could do. They couldn't get past John Gibson. And then they came back with a vengeance in the second period, scoring 4 goals while John Hamm was in the booth. I'm going to get into that. John Hamm being the good luck charm and all that stuff. A lot of exciting stuff to talk about from that Anaheim game. So make sure you stay tuned. Before we get into that, I wanted to tell you guys about today's title sponsor, because this episode is brought to you by betonline.net. Now, betonline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts, and I'll be right back with the second half of today's episode. All right, so following their 5-4 overtime victory on Saturday, the St. Louis Blues took on the Anaheim Ducks on Sunday in what is Ryan Getzlaf's final game of his career. Super emotionally charged. I even jokingly said to my friends, Blues are going to lose this game. I feel like anytime you got a retirement ceremony or something like that, teams get pretty emotional. It was definitely a very high emotion game for the Anaheim Ducks. As we saw early, they played really hard in that first period. They didn't get a ton of scoring chances, didn't get a ton of shots, but they made life difficult on the Blues, as I sort of predicted. And they went up 2-0 really early. They scored a goal on their first shot off of a 2-on-1 after David Perron hit the post, which who knows how differently the game would have gone if David Perron scores that goal and then, the Ducks don't immediately turn that into a 2-on-1. But they, sure enough, they go down to 2-on-1. Maxime Comtois, who had previously gone down off of a questionable, or I guess not questionable in terms of the legality of it, but kind of went down calling for a major penalty on, I believe it was Buchnevich. Or no, I think it was Toropchenko. Hit him kind of up high, not really, and down on the ice, and the announcers were saying, oh, this could be a major penalty. I don't know. Got his revenge. Got a goal on the 2-on-1 to put the Ducks up 1-0, and then less than or a little bit over 2 minutes after that, Mayhew gets his 11th of the year for them off of a rocket from the point that kind of just snuck past Ville Husso. And then at that point, it was like, okay, great. 2 shots on goal, 2 goals. What are we doing here, Blues? And it was a bit of a rough end to the first. The Blues definitely looked a little shell-shocked. Looked like they were, looked very frustrated. John Gibson is a spectacular goalie, and they got a bunch of really good scoring chances that Gibson just, shut the door on, didn't allow any rebounds, didn't allow any good opportunities. You could tell that the Blues were getting a little frustrated there later in that first period. They were out shooting the Ducks like crazy, but just couldn't solve the mystery that was John Gibson. That is until the second period when Don Draper himself, John Hamm, decided to join the broadcast booth and worked his magic on the St. Louis Blues, because when John Hamm entered the broadcast booth, the Blues were down 2-0. He was in the broadcast booth for 7 minutes of game time, 15 minutes, of real time. By the time that John Hamm was done with his little guest spot in the broadcast booth. The Blues were not only were they no longer trailing 2-0, they were winning 4-2. The Blues scored 4 goals in 7.5 minutes of game time. Absolutely ridiculous stuff from the Blues offense. I tweeted it out in that first period. I said, this is a Blues team that has shown that they can come back from deficits like this. They can just score in bunches and make leads go away. I wasn't expecting such a potent offensive outburst as the one that we saw. I mean, obviously, if I had known that John Hamm was coming, maybe I would have changed my wording a little bit. But the point that I was trying to make in saying that the Blues, have that ability is that when you have an offense as potent as the St. Louis Blues, it's easy to score 2 goals over 2 periods. It's easy to come back from a 2-goal deficit. It's not like you're playing like the Montreal Canadiens of last year where you're relying on winning games 2-1, 1-0 with Carey Price being your savior. The Blues have a very potent offense and like I said, have the ability to come back from leads like that. We saw them put up 4 goals on Arizona and then still win in overtime. And this was the exact opposite. They gave up 2 goals early, could have been very discouraged. And then they came out in the second period. And I think the shots at the end of that period were like 29-9 in favor of the St. Louis Blues. So they outshot the Ducks in that period, like 17-6, something crazy like that. They scored 4 goals on 7 shots, 4 goals on 5 shots, something like that. It was ridiculous. They just didn't know how to not score when they shot on the net. That was a little bit of a broken sentence, but still, it was like truly mind-blowing to see the offense work as well as it was in that stretch. Just like they were getting so frustrated by John Gibson. And then all of a sudden, a little weird bouncing goal, Jordan Kyrou fires a puck, bounces off a defender, beats John Gibson. And then the same thing happens on Tarasenko's goal. Another, Nico Mikkola kind of threw a shot on net, bounced up, hit Tarasenko's shin pad and went in. 2 garbage goals that get past John Gibson. 2 goals that he couldn't have had no matter how well he was playing. Like he was stopping every point blank shot, but those 2 weird little deflections were all it took for John Gibson to lose that edge, lose that confidence. And then the floodgates were open. So the first goal, Jordan Kyrou's goal, occurred 7 minutes and 29 seconds into the second. Vladimir Tarasenko's goal occurred 1 minute and 8 seconds later at the 8 minutes and 37 seconds into the second period. And then chaos broke loose. John Hamm says the quote, "Oh, that Ivan Barbashev guy, he's a big spark plug because okay, a little bit of background. We got to rewind all the way back to the year 2019 when John Hamm was last in the broadcast booth. Ivan Barbashev was on the ice. John Hamm praised Ivan Barbashev's play. Immediately after, Barbashev scored a goal. This is back in 2019. And here we are, 2022. John Hamm is in the broadcast booth again. He has just witnessed 2 goals. The broadcast is unintelligible at that point. I was looking down at my phone. All of a sudden, I hear John Kelly, Darren Pang, and John Hamm go, "Hey!" And that was the second goal. Just there, you could tell they were having a great time. The players were laughing on the bench. I was like, okay, this is starting to get fun. Barbashev hops back out on after getting an assist on that first goal, by the way, which the broadcast was already having a good enough time. I'm like, oh my God, Barbashev, another assist. John Hamm, miracle worker with Barbashev. Little do they know, they're talking about Ivan Barbashev. John Hamm says, quote, "Yeah, Barbashev, he's such a spark plug." Literally 30 seconds later, if that, Ivan Barbashev scores a goal off of a tip-in with John Hamm still in the booth, of course. So he predicts Ivan Barbashev's goal back in 2019. He does so again last night in the Anaheim game. Blues are up 3-2, but before you can even blink, Justin Falk makes it 4-2 with John Hamm still in the booth. They didn't even have time to get the interview. They wanted to, talk to John Hamm about St. Louis, about the Blues. They didn't even have time to interview him because of all the goals the Blues were scoring. It was hilarious. John Kelly, Darren, they were laughing. John Hamm was laughing. It was like they were, I don't want to call it unprofessional because that makes it sound bad, but it was definitely the most laid back and relaxed I've seen that broadcast booth. And it was so much fun. It made that 4-goal tirade even that more fun, just knowing how good of a time they were having in the broadcast booth. After that, Pavel Buchnevich scores his 30th of the season off an absolute snipe into the top corner, bar down. First of all, 30 goals from Pavel Buchnevich. Huge stuff from him. And then Marco Scandella scores the 6th goal of the night for the St. Louis Blues. Anytime Marco Scandella is scoring you, you're having a rough night. I mean, it's amazing the 360 or the 180 John Gibson took from looking absolutely unbeatable to allowing a 5-hole goal to Marco Scandella. It's amazing what this Blues offense is capable of, just kind of taking the will out of a goalie as good as John Gibson. Anyways, that being said, that was all she wrote for that game. Blues came away with a 6-3 victory. And like I said, I mean, this team is just fun as heck. They score goals in bunches. You could see the players were laughing on the bench. Even after the first goal, Kyrou couldn't help but smirk. Tarasenko couldn't help but smirk after his goal. Like, they were like, man, this is fun, isn't it? We're scoring goals with our knees now. So, I mean, you're not convinced that this offense can beat a team in the NHL on the right night, especially with Colorado kind of faltering lately. They haven't been playing their best hockey. Man, this might be the best offense I've had the pleasure of watching in all my years of Blues fandom by a long shot. It is going to be so fun to watch this team in the postseason and seeing how they adjust on offense and continue to just put up monstrous goal numbers on teams. Now, one guy that has been putting up monstrous goal totals is Vladimir Tarasenko. He's had a career year, one of, if not his best year as a St. Louis Blue, and that is following 3 shoulder surgeries in the span of 28 months, I believe the timeline was. So 3 shoulder surgeries over the last 2 years and change for Tarasenko. He really hadn't looked like his former self in a long time. A lot of people, myself included, were very hesitant to assume he would ever reach that level again. Not only has he reached that level again, but he has surpassed it, having one of, like I said, if not the best year he's had of his career, 30-plus goals, tons of assists. And for that reason, he is nominated for the Bill Masterton Trophy, which is given to basically the Comeback Player of the Year. So in this third segment, I'm kind of giving my case to the NHL award voters. I know they're all listening to this podcast. What else do they have to do? Of why I think Vladimir Tarasenko deserves that award. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But first, make sure you guys check out our good friends over at Built Bar. Now, Built Bar has so many good products. You've heard me talk about them all the time. They're delicious protein bars that taste like a candy bar. They're really, like I said, they're delicious, but the best part is they're good for you. You know, you're eating a Built Bar, you're not feeling bad about what you're eating. Compared to the macros of a candy bar, way less calories, way less sugar, more protein, more net carbs, and they're all covered in 100% chocolate, so you can sort of engage that sweet tooth, including their new products called Built Puffs, which are protein-infused marshmallows, which is just as delicious as they sound. So many good flavors, including mint brownie, coconut almond, and new for this month, white chocolate cookies and cream. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com, and I'll be right back to wrap up today's episode. All right, so flashback about 9 months ago-ish, a year ago, whatever. Twitter was on fire. Vladimir Tarasenko had requested a trade. Hasn't looked like himself in seasons, multiple shoulder surgeries. At that point, it was probably 3 shoulder surgeries in 2 years. Wasn't happy with his role. Wasn't, satisfied with his production, whatever. Wanted to change the scenery. Felt like the most painful breakup that none of us wanted to have. Now here we are. Not only has Vladimir Tarasenko not been traded from the St. Louis Blues, he has had one of, if not the best, year of his career. Vladimir Tarasenko has already set a career high in points with 82. 6 behind his career high goal total with 34. 12 ahead of his career high in assists with 48 this season, and has looked like he is a crucial member of the best line in hockey as of late in the Pavel Buchnevich, Robert Thomas, Vladimir Tarasenko trio that has been lighting the world on fire. All of this following 3 shoulder surgeries in 28 months. Look, I was going to say it now. I was wrong. I did not think Vladimir Tarasenko had this in him after all those shoulder surgeries. I thought the best was behind us. I still thought he could be a really good player, but not this good. He's going to be point per game for an 82-game season. He's got 82 points now. Obviously, he isn't going to play in 82 games this season, but he's going to be point per game this season. He's well ahead of it already right now with 82 points in 73 games. Has looked absolutely unbelievable alongside Pavel Buchnevich and Robert Thomas as of late. Um, and is doing so after a very tumultuous offseason where he was in a ton of headlines and had probably a ton of criticism and slander directed his way after that trade request went public. It has not been easy going for Vladimir Tarasenko. Like I said, he had 3 shoulder surgeries in 28 months, and one of the surgeries was because the previous surgery didn't take, and he was very frustrated with that. That was one of the reasons why that trade request was made, is that he wasn't happy with how the surgeries had gone, and he felt like the only reason he needed to get that third surgery or that second surgery was because the one before didn't go well. He had been dealt with a lot over the last 2 or so seasons since the Blues won the Stanley Cup, and had a lot of pressure on him this season. Coming in after dominating headlines and being in such a public trade request, it was tough for Vladimir Tarasenko right off the bat, without a doubt. It was probably very nerve-wracking for him to return in front of the fans. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but the fans could have very easily turned on him and booed him and, been unhappy with the way that he had handled the whole trade thing. Whatever. There was a very good chance that he wasn't going to get the fan support. And he, came in, did his job, and the fans backed him up right away and showed him support. And he's gone on to have the best year of his career this season at the age of 30, following 3 shoulder surgeries in 28 months. I'm going to keep saying that because if there's ever a reason to give a guy the Masterton Trophy, it's the fact that he's had 3 surgeries in like 2 years and is now having a career year. It is unbelievable, the production we've seen from Vladimir Tarasenko this year. And we've almost gotten used to it as of late that we're not talking about how crazy it is. Now, I haven't read up on all the other nominees. There might be some guys out there that are more deserving, just based off of what they've been through, their backgrounds, whatever. But in terms of Blues players and in recent years, you got to nominate someone for the Masterton Trophy every year, and maybe besides Jay Bouwmeester dealing with his heart condition and all that, I haven't really seen a convincing Blues Masterton nominee recently until Vladimir Tarasenko. Just the absolute storybook season that he is having, based off of what he's been through, based off of all the drama and rumors and news. Was best case scenario. If you had told me when I read that tweet that Vladimir Tarasenko had requested a trade, if you're like, not only is he not going to be traded, but he is going to put up a career high in points on one of the best lines in the NHL with the St. Louis Blues this season and have a big old grin on his face while doing it, I would have thought you were crazy. That was far and away the best case scenario when that trade request was made. I did not see this coming. So for that reason, I think he has as good of a case as anyone to win the Masterton Trophy this year. I'm excited to see what he can do tomorrow night against the Colorado Avalanche, because that's going to be a huge game. But we'll have that preview for you here on the Locked On Blues podcast. So make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Check us out on all of our socials: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. Follow us there. And then subscribe to our YouTube. We've been doing these YouTube videos that are a lot of fun, engaging with you guys in the comments. We've been growing subscribers pretty rapidly here. We really enjoyed that. So make sure you're checking us out there. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Hyman NHL. You can follow Tommy, my co-host, on Twitter at TWelcher15. That being said, thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, let's go Blues.